Recargo todos mis cristales con la luz del amor. Recargo todos mis cristales con la luz del amor. Recargo todos.
To say we are really excited today here on World Exposure to have our special guest tonight, Lulacruza from Buenos Aires. And are you both in the same place, or you're both in different places? So where are you in coordinates with each other?
We're both in Buenos Aires, but I am in the outskirts of the city in my house.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful. Well, like I said, thank you so much for joining us here today on World Exposure with Cher Dial. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you two met, and did you ever dream that you would be on this musical journey together?
We actually met something like 13 years ago, or 12 or 13 years ago, when we were living in Boston. We were both going to Berklee College of Music.
Oh, okay.
So we were both studying there. And almost at the end of our time there, we met through a mutual friend, and we started kind of talking first. And we became friends. We started sharing music, talking about music. And what brought us together right away was a clear interest in ritual music.
Oh, okay.
You know, we were both very drawn to these ancient ritual musics, or even modern ritual music. You know, music that's not only entertainment, but there's some sort of either social or spiritual or like transcendental
Yes.
sense to the music. And so we spent a few years just being friends, not really playing with each other, but just, you know, like I would give Alejandra a CD, she would give me something, and, you know, kept on talking about that. And then, you know, at some point, we kind of jammed together for another thing. We played together for one event, and we're like, oh, this could work. There's this musical chemistry that goes on. And so that's when we started thinking about making music together.
I see. And so were you at that time both into the same particular type of music? I've always wondered that, you know, like, how did you say, wait, you know, we're both into this type of genre of music? What, were you into different things and then come together?
No, I think there was some overlap, but there was a lot of things that we were coming from very different worlds. I was studying electronic music at the time, and Alejandra was studying voice and also like world music at Berklee. And so we were coming from different points, but there was a lot of overlap. We're both from South America. We had grown up listening to a lot of the same folk music, but also the same pop music. We were both into dance music, like electronic dance music,
right,
and going to listening to DJs, and we felt that was like kind of like the modern ritual music of our times. And so, you know, there was a both. We're coming from different points, but there was a lot of overlap as well.
You've actually released your 5th release this week, Orcus. I would love if you could tell the audience a little bit about this, and then I want to get into your other, obviously, projects and film work.
Yes. So this album is very special to us because it was, well, for me, it was recorded during my pregnancy. It was in the last 2 months of my pregnancy. And it's our most intimate album to date. It's a collection of songs about love and about the vulnerability that it takes to be in love. And I was going through a big transformation, becoming a mother, and realizing that I was not going to stay with my baby's dad as we were before. So we recorded the album during that time, and I feel that it was like a ritual for me.
en los hilos claros del tiempo. Hago que crezcan en su matriz resplandecientes los sueños. Con el amor yo lubrico y sello. Hago un escudo de silencio y en la espesura de los cuerpos recuerdo saber unirse y abrazar entero. Cambian despacio las rocas que el agua lame insistiendo. Hace que crezcan en su matriz ya cristalinos los sueños. Con el
To
amor
music and now releasing it's very healing. It feels like it's a very intimate, dark, but also very beautiful, and we've received like a lot of beautiful feedback from people that it connects them with something very soft, and sometimes that very soft place is one of the most powerful states to be in.
I noticed you sing it in your language. Now, are you at all singing in English, or do you just prefer to sing in your own language? Spanish? Is it Spanish?
I feel that the songs are like I received them. So when I was living in the States, I felt that I received two songs that are in English that we still perform live. One of them we perform a lot. But the rest of the songs have been in Spanish or in some indigenous languages as well. Yes, actually, I love singing in Spanish, and it's what comes. But now that you mentioned that, there was this man from Korea at one of our shows once, and at the end of he was more than half through the concert, he realized that he did not speak Spanish, but he was so connected that he really felt that he was understanding everything, and then he was like, oh, I don't speak Spanish,
Right.
like I don't know the actual words she's using, but he felt that he was understanding every single word. So he talks about the power of
Exactly.
music.
That's how I feel, and I think the instruments too that you use, it makes you feel like you feel the music.
Stay put, more to come. World Exposure with Cher Dial. We'll be right back. We're back, and now more World Exposure with Cher Dial.
I would like maybe if you could tell us a little bit about all the instruments you play, including water, which we'll talk about.
We play a lot of South American, either folkloric or indigenous instruments that we've kind of picked up on the way. So on this album, we're playing a bombo legüero, which is a big bass drum from Argentina. We're playing charango, which is a small 10-stringed instrument that was kind of originated in Bolivia in the Andes Mountains, but is played all throughout the Andes. So Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, you find charango. There's also cuatro in the album, which is a 4-stringed instrument that's native to both Colombia and Venezuela.
In Minnesota?
No, Venezuela.
Oh, Venezuela. I was going to go, wait a second. I said, Minnesota, that's where I'm calling from. I was like, what? Sorry.
That's and so well, all these instruments have a very traditional way of playing them, but that's not how we play them. We've kind of we've self-taught on the instrument, so we have our own style of our own way of playing it. And we feel that these instruments are, like, they already evoke, for us, they already evoke certain landscapes and certain feelings. You know,
Yes.
the charango, you play it and it really takes you like to the high plains. There's something very mountainous about it. You know, so those, and then we also, throughout our career, we also been doing a lot of kind of found objects. You know, I like to say that music is born in the musician and not in the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, a good musician can make something sound musical with anything, you know, like pots and pans, or a stream of water, or, you know, blowing through a bottle. You know, there's all sorts of examples of using non-instruments as instruments.
As instruments.
And so we're always kind of incorporating that, because we feel that, you know, there's so many sounds, you know, that are possible, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Once again, we are here with Lulacruza from Buenos Aires on World Exposure with Cher Dial, and we are having a great conversation. And now I would like to get into your Esperando El Tsunami, your visual musical album, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. I watched it today, and I've watched it before, and it's so, I mean, the scenery, the video, everything is beautiful. And I know it was produced and directed by Vincent Moon.
Yeah.
And I also read where he said it was his best work ever. And so maybe you could tell us how the concept began. I was trying to think about that today. I was like, how did this whole concept begin? And then how long did it take you to film? Because it's very, very interesting and very beautiful.
Well, it all began, Vincent Moon, prior to working with us, and he's mostly known for doing what are called takeaway shows on this website called La Blogothèque, this French website. So he would ask bands to, if he could film them playing a song live, but he would bring him out of the normal song setting. So instead of recording in a studio or on a stage, he'd have them recording walking down the streets or in an elevator, doing the song and trying to making it sound with whatever elements they had. You know, so he's been doing that for many years, and he got in touch with us. He wanted he was going to be coming to Buenos Aires, and he said, "Oh, I want to film with you guys." Unfortunately, we weren't able to film then because Alejandra was in Colombia, and so, but I met him and we started talking, and I was like, "Oh, have you ever thought about going to Colombia?" And he's like, "Oh, I would love to go to Colombia." And so that's when, like, the idea was sparked. Okay, so let's do something in Colombia. And then Alejandra and me talking about it, we realized, we're like, okay, we have this opportunity to work with this great filmmaker. And so what would we want to do?
Right.
And so what we are most interested in is almost like this ethnomusicological investigation, you know, where, you know, how does music arise? You know, where does music come from?
Right.
Like, how, you know, why does jungle music sound the way it does? And why does it sound so similar? Like if it's in a Colombian jungle or it's a jungle in Indonesia, you know, what suddenly there's, like, where does music come from? You know, does it come from birds? Does it come from culture? You know, and so we decided that we wanted to go on that journey and start kind of doing that listening. And so we traveled through Colombia for 3 months.
3 months.
Really listening to each place, so listening to from the stones and the rivers and the birds and the insects to also the people, the culture, how they spoke, and also their music. And so we met up with a bunch of different musicians in all these places, and then we would improvise with them or listen to them play their music or us play our music, but always interacting with the space, always really listening to, so it's not just us coming with our preconceived ideas in music into
like
a
their
space,
world. You
just
actually brought
playing
them
it,
into yours. Exactly.
but actually allowing the circumstances and the place and the people, the musicians and other people and birds to be influencing the music, and so that's kind of what we've set out to do.
I am just so happy that you took the time today once again. Oh, you know what? This is our little mascot. This is W.Ed Poser. We are World Exposure, and so he travels in from all over the world. And he actually traveled today from Toronto, Canada. We have a question from a fan, and they say you have played very impressive venues, including the Chicago World Festival, where I'm from Chicago. Now, what place has been the most memorable for you to play in?
There's many, but the first one that came to mind, we played on a huge pirate ship.
Really?
A few years ago, we played on a huge art installation created by 100 different artists collaborating, called The Do Return, and this was built in the CCA. No, I think in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in one of the institutes, art institutes in New Mexico, and it was a life-size pirate ship with all the details. Like there was like rooms with books and poems in the books and lights, and it's as if people were living there, and we performed on the deck of the boat when the boat was full of people, and it was a very epic, just the whole scenery and everything totally transformed the audience, and they had warned us, being like, oh, this can hold a lot of weight, people could dance, whatever, but if everybody's jumping up and down at the same time,
really?
We might have a problem. And so we were playing, and then when we got to the last song, people were so excited and ecstatic that they started jumping, and the sound guy started waving at me like, no, no. So we had to kind of like put on the handbrake and stop the song midway.
Oh, did you really? So they would stop jumping around?
Yeah, the song was still building up, and we still hadn't got into the peak. But instead of continuing to build, we at that point just kind of brought it back down.
Oh, wow! So I really appreciate you taking the time today. It really means a lot to us here, and thank you so much once again.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Stay tuned for part 1 of a 2-part special. Rockin' the World from LA Nick is next on World Exposure with Cher Dial.
Hair trends, hair transformation, and hair tranquility begin at Hair Trinity. Hair Trinity Salon, located in New Brighton, offers you elegant, sophisticated, and business stylings to crazy, sexy, cool. Provided by certified stylists that help you create your own style in your image, because one style doesn't fit all. Affordably priced for all hair and types. Hair Trinity Salon, located at 1437 Silver Lake Road in New Brighton.
What's up, guys? It's LA Nick here. Today we're in the area of Italy they call Motor City. This is where all the Italian motorcycles and cars are built in this whole area of Italy. Right now we're in Pesaro, which is the home of Benelli. I had a Benelli for 30 years of my life. I bought a 750 SEI 6-cylinder in 1980 from these guys, and they actually have it here back at this factory. Let's check it out. 1925, a Springer front end, first suspension. Another 1925 with a split tank, a little bigger CC. This is a 300 CC. 125 Sport. Look how beautiful that is. Under tank frame, under the tank under the frame. There's a suicide shifter. It's just unbelievable motorcycle. Same with this 125. This is a 1927 125 with a single Springer front end. Another beautiful under frame tank. Love that bike. This is probably one of my favorites of the smalls. It was actually a 147 cc. They called it a 150, but it's actually 147. I love the wide tank. I love the style of this bike. This bike's been restored. First one in the line that's been restored. This another gorgeous. This is the 175 Turismo, 1929. A little bit beefier, a little heavier suspension, bigger tires. Just a gorgeous machine. An unrestored 37. And check this stuff out. They got external valve springs. So the valve springs weren't even in the heads, they were external, which is pretty crazy. I mean, it's unheard of today, external valve springs. Inside this motor, I'll show you a cutout later, but most motorcycles and cars have a cam gear and a crank gear, and they have a chain. This is all gears. Very advanced engine. It has external valve springs, which today is craziness, but that's what it had. Instead of a timing chain, it actually had all these gears. And talk about some noise, this thing screams like just constantly screaming, because all these gears together made a lot of noise. Even just a car today, you take a chain out and put a gear in there, they scream. This thing was so loud. They were still using British carburetors at the time, Amel. They later on switched over to Delorto, which is much better of a carburetor, and they used Delorto through the whole history of Benelli. From 40 and up, they switched over to Delorto. And yeah, this is what made Benelli famous, this motor, because it was very advanced for its day. So when World War II broke out, Benelli Motorcycle Factory got turned into military, of course. And they built a lot of military bikes, including this utility vehicle, which is, this thing's just sick. It's a trike, it's like a trike, but it's got a big bed on the back, like a pickup truck. And they built a lot of motorcycles for the military. When the war came to an end, they had a lot of these left over. They built too many of them. And they actually turned them into the public. They made them for sale to the public, and the public used them to haul around groceries, and stores used them to deliver stuff. And they became very popular in Italy after the war. And we're going to move on now. This was the first generation. Let's go check out the second generation. Come on upstairs, check it out. So after the war, Benelli turned to a bigger market, small engine motorcycles to get around town, and they went crazy. It was their boom. And there's so many of them. I mean, there's literally so many models, hundreds of models, and they sold like crazy. And they actually started selling them in America at Montgomery Ward. They were called Riversides. They actually do not have a Riverside here in Italy. Believe it or not, they made thousands of them to America, but they don't actually have one at the Benelli Museum, and they're looking to find one. So if you have a Riverside, let me know. But let's check these out. They're all super cool. So I have a lot of favorites. This one's very bicycle-y. It almost looks like a bicycle. It actually has pedals, so it's considered a moped. This was 1960. They made a lot of scooters, and a lot of small engine bikes, and a lot of models. I mean, there's a lot of models here. They're all different. And it's crazy that this company had made so many different kind of bikes. Some of them are really moped. Like this looks like an early American moped that we saw in America. But these were never in America, this particular Benelli. They tried a bunch of different names at times, like Motorby, and to market them to different countries. Like there's a Motorby there. But they're actually all made by Benelli. This thing's kind of crazy looking, pretty futuristic. That looks like something to be made today. You know, in the late 50s, early 60s, Japan really destroyed most motorcycle companies. They came out with the Honda Dream, and a bunch of other, Yamaha came out, and they marketed all over the world. And companies like Benelli, Ducati, Laverda, Norton, Triumph, they all got crushed. I mean, crushed. So they were all scrambling to redesign and come out with a better bike, faster bike. So this was that generation of Benelli. You can see they have a horizontal piston rod instead of vertical. Still not a fan of the horizontal motor, but I love that head. That head's just cool. We're going to go downstairs to the next floor and check out the next generation, which is my favorite because that's what I had, is the 70s and 80s. Come on, check it out. This is my favorite room of Benelli. This is my generation of Benelli. You know, in the early 70s, they got bigger. They made bigger CC bikes. This is a 650 Tornado, which was just a powerhouse machine. You know, they went to the they had big steel drum brakes in the front, big Brembo drum in the front, big Brembo drum in the back. Powerful, just a solid bike, no wobbles, no nothing, no tanks, just a solid machine. You know, this is when they merged with Motor Guzzi. If you take this triple tree off, you'll see Motor Guzzi underneath, and these were just solid machines. And you can see even the Polizia of Italy bought this bike for police bikes because they're almost equivalent to a Honda. I mean, you look at this, you look at the top of this motor, you even look at this valve. This is all looks like just like a Honda 750. I mean, it looks exactly like it. I mean, down to the casting. But they went to the Lordo carbs, and just a dependable, solid machine. This one's unrestored and looks. I mean, it's not bad. The motor needs to be cleaned up, but it's not bad. This goes down to a 345. I always liked this little bike. I don't know why. I rode one a couple times. They have a lot of power. It's almost like a Honda 400. I mean, the motor is almost identical. In fact, these actually fit from a Honda 750 and 550. They fit this bike. I broke one of these, tightened it too hard and broke it, and used the Honda 750 one, and it worked, screwed right on.
We're back, and now more world exposure with Cher Dial.
And you are the grand diva of radio. You're an artist, an activist, and welcome to World Exposure with Cher Dial.
Thank you, Cher. It's always a pleasure to be a part of what you're doing. Always.
And of course, your show, Great Blend of Watercolors, can be heard on Saturday mornings from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on KFAI. And your music that you play is impeccable. And I wanted to ask you about just all the different things that you are involved with. What came first for you, art or the love for music?
Well, I'm going to say it was the love for music because I was exposed to music as a child. My mother was a huge fan of blues and rhythm and blues. She was a Nat King Cole fan, Bobby Blue Bland, B.B. King, you name it. That's where my love for music came from my mother.
And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the beautiful artwork behind you and some of the projects you're associated with.
Well, my artwork is, I call it art for healing and celebration. And I call it that because that's what it is. Yes. Art heals. And then once we get in the mode of healing, then have the ability, the capability of being able to celebrate ourselves. And I think it's very, very important that one celebrates themselves. And then when you can celebrate yourself, then you can celebrate community. And so that's very, very important. Art, I think what I do is just two-dimensional textile with the base of denim. I think it's important I do mask making. And I think it's important to demask and to get a clear, or as clear as you can, understanding of who you are and what you're about and how you fit into this world, if not yet this community. So I think that is very, very, very important, that you understand who you are. Because if you don't, oh well.
What gave you the idea to do art this form, which I don't see a lot of?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it was, I kind of fell into it. And I say that I was an executive director of an after-school arts and academics program. And one of my artists, for whatever reason, had to leave. And he was doing something similar to this, not exactly this. And so I always want to attribute that to, the name fails me right now, Richard, it'll come to me, I hope. Anyway, and I said, well, I need to continue this for this class, or with this class, because he left in the middle of a semester. And you can't jerk children around and say, okay, we're not doing that anymore. Guess what? We're doing this.
Yes.
Well, I decided that I needed to learn this and understand what it was and what he was trying to present. But then I learned it more from my own perspective, from the concept that where I was coming from. And so I'm going to say that that's why I say I fell into it, because, it was all about the children, the youth. It wasn't about me, and it needed to be fulfilled.
Can they purchase your artwork, and where can they purchase and go or see? Do you have exhibits?
From time to time, I do exhibits. I look at this right now as an exhibit on Cher Dial.
Yes, it is. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
I do have a website. Of course, it's www.shangospiritmarket.com. SHANGO Spirit SPIRIT Market MARKET.com. Shango Spirit Market. And it'll give you a bit about who I am, as they say, about us, about me, and a little bit of photography. This particular one isn't on there yet, but it will be. But that's where I am. That's where I live. ShangoSpiritMarket.com.
Great. Well, once again, we are here with Dee Henry Williams, the wonderful grand diva herself. And we are just going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors, and we will be back after these messages.
Stay put, more to come. World Exposure with Cher Dial. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm John Maravillas, and if you're looking to get fit and improve your health, it's as easy as 3 simple steps. 60% nutrition, 40% working out, and 100% commitment. That's Fit for Life. What makes Fit for Life different? We specialize in getting your metabolism higher, even when you're not working out. Through our scientific and time-tested techniques, we've integrated a 30-minute workout that gives you the benefit of multiple hour sessions. Unlike other fitness studios, we combine strength training to tone, cardio to burn off fat from your stomach and hips, and nutrition planning and consulting to accelerate your results and make them permanent.
Hi, I'm Allison. I took the Fit for Life Challenge and lost 65 pounds.
And I'm Christy. I did too, and I lost 100 pounds.
I back my promise of unparalleled fitness with an unconditional 90-day money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied with your results, you don't pay a dime. Call me today and get fit for life.
We're back. And now more World Exposure with Cher Dial.
We are back again on World Exposure with Cher Dial with the wonderful Dee Henry Williams. And we are having a great conversation about her beautiful artwork behind her and photographs. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your activism in the community and the community of light. If you could tell us a little bit about this wonderful program.
Absolutely. Communities of Light. I'm one of the co-founders of Communities of Light. And Communities of Light is primarily based in the communities here of Minneapolis, specifically the Backyard Initiative, which is co-sponsored, if you want to call it that, by the Culture Wellness Center in Alina Health. But Communities of Light is all about understanding and knowing that one can be self-sufficient, and that you do not need to depend on anyone for let's say your economic status or your health. You are the person who determines your life. Yes, we have these outside factors and people that can contribute, like yoga and the co-ops and the clinics and all of that. But you are the person who says, I know who I am. I know where my pain is. I know where I feel good. And I also know that I can be self-sufficient economically as well. Communities of Light, have developed workshops, and we do workshops on Fridays from 5 to 8 p.m. and it's family based, and that is crucial.
Sure.
Because in those workshops, we learn about ourselves again, but we also learn about our families. And so this is an opportunity to develop that relationship and friendship, but also learn about solar while you're doing that. And then once they get through that workshop, then there is a second workshop if they choose to, and they learn to build a portable solar generator where you can be totally self-sufficient if you choose to be.
Really?
Really?
Wow, that's interesting.
I know. That's what I hear all the time. But it happens. We have a number of portable solar generators here in Minneapolis and St. Paul that are in people's homes right now, and they're partially off the grid.
And you actually build them yourself?
Yeah. In fact,
wow.
At Midtown Global Market, I'm not sure of the time, but I know there's a Thursday, November 8th, that we're going to be demonstrating how to build a solar generator from the ground up, from scratch, right before your eyes. And so I invite, and I'll put it out there somewhere.
Please do. That I want to be good. I want to be there, really.
Absolutely, you do, Cher.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, and it is so exciting, and I've been dealing with this for 5 years now, and every time I talk about it, it's invigorating. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
Hey.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? This is our little mascot. Of course, we are World Exposure, and this is W. Ed Poser, and look at it. He's got a little mini P. He's got a little mascot here, and he brings us questions.
Okay.
From all over the world to ask our guests. And today he flew in from New York City. Okay, so do you like dancing or do you like to watch dancing?
Oh, hands down, I'm a dancer.
And let's see, what crazy thing do you have on your bedstand?
You know, it's not crazy. I have a globe, a red. Red is one of my favorite colors. And I light a candle every evening, and so it's not crazy, but it's something that I do consistently every evening. And I have one of these 5-hour tea light things, and so around 10 p.m. I light it, and it's on until about that next morning.
Do you like comedy or romance?
I like romance.
All right. And what is your favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday is Kwanzaa.
Motorcycle or boat?
Aren't you something? I was a huge motorcycle enthusiast and owned a couple.
Really?
And, oh yeah.
Well, you know what? That is so fun. That was the best segment to play with you because I learned all kinds of things, and so did the fans about D. Henry Williams. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, I enjoy it too because it brings back memories too. And one last thing that I'm going to tell you, and then this is it. I used to drive semi trucks cross country.
Did you? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and I have two nephews and a niece who also are drivers now.
Oh, well, what a wonderful life you've had, doing so many things, and you've brought joy to so many people. And of course, every Saturday morning on KFAI, a great blend of watercolors. And you've given me an opportunity to, showcase myself and, so many other people along the way. And you're such an inspiration to not just me, but I know so many other people in this community.
Well, let me just say this, Cher, about you and Robert W. Morgan. And you two have worked extensively and very hard on world exposure with Cher Dial. And I am so grateful, and I truly mean this, that you have selected a great blend of watercolors on KFAI to present your program on a weekly basis at 7:50 a.m. We try to stick to that time as close as possible. And I just want to say I appreciate both of you for just the tenacity. I mean, cranking these things out every week. I understand it, and I appreciate you and Robert and your program.
Oh, well, thank you. And we appreciate you and all, like I said, all you do for not just us, but the youth in Minneapolis and everybody really. And we just want to wish you just continued success in everything you do. And like I said, what an amazing life we found out of D. Henry Williams.
Oh, well, it was just a life for me. Cheryl, could I just do one last thing?
Of course.
We've got an app that, a website, of course, and an app, communitiesoflight.org.
Perfect.
Communitiesoflight.org. And I just want to say thank you. It's always fun being around you and being a part of what you do.
Well, thank you once again, D. Henry Williams, the Grand Diva herself, for joining us today on World Exposure with Cher Dial.
You're welcome, Cher.
Thank you.